Create. Your personal history is not public property, and it's one of the first boundaries that becomes more important with age. As you grow older, create. People often assume they have a right to know everything about you, your childhood, your past relationships, your mistakes, your regrets. Create. And every difficult chapter you've already fought your way through, they frame their curiosity as connection, advice seeking, or even concern. Create. But sometimes it's just an invitation for them to judge, compare, or use parts of your story for their own narrative. Create. You don't owe anyone the play of how you became who you are. Your life experiences are earned, not owed. Create. There's a strange social pressure placed on older women to explain every choice they've made, why they stayed, why they left, why they forgave. Create. Why they didn't. People ask for these details as if they're entitled to them. Create. As if understanding your past will somehow give them power or permission over your present. But your story is not a community project. Create. It's a lifetime of private victories, painful lessons, and quiet resilience that doesn't need to be opened up for public review just because someone is curious. Create. Protecting that history isn't hiding, it's honoring what you survived. As you age, create, you also recognize that not everyone has earned the right to hear certain chapters. Some people ask questions with good intentions. Create. But others ask because they want to compare, gossip, or dig. The older you get, create, the more you understand that the people who truly respect you won't demand access to your private memories. Create. They won't insist you relive parts of yourself that took years to heal. They will take what you choose to share, not what they try to pull out of you. Create. Your personal history also carries emotional weight. Telling it requires energy, and not everyone deserves that energy. Revisiting old pain. Create. Describing old relationships, explaining old decisions. It all comes with a cost. When you were younger, you might have felt obligated to share more than you wanted, either to feel understood, accepted, or validated. But with age comes clarity. Create. Validation isn't worth the emotional toll of reopening things you close for a reason. Boundaries become essential to keep you grounded, not drained. Create. There's also a protective strength in keeping certain memories yours alone. Not every moment of growth needs an audience. Not every lesson needs to be taught. Create. Not every wound needs to be revealed. When you hold parts of your story privately, you keep control of how you're defined. Create. You get to decide what parts of you are visible and what parts stay sacred. People can make assumptions or form opinions. Create. But none of that changes the truth you hold within yourself. Create. Another powerful reason this boundary matters is that your past is not a report card for others to grade. Keeping your history private prevents people from weaponizing your vulnerabilities or rewriting your narrative to fit their perspective. Create. You've lived long enough to know that people can twist stories, fill in blanks with their own bias, or use your honesty against you. Privacy becomes protection, not from the past, but from people who don't know how to handle it respectfully. And your history is still evolving. Create. The older you get, the more you get, the more understand that your story is not finished, and you don't have to hand over chapters that are still teaching you something. Create. Privacy gives you space to keep learning and growing without others interrupting, questioning, or interfering. Create. Keeping parts of your past to yourself allows you to stay connected to who you are becoming, not who people want you to be. Your emotional energy is limited. Create. And the older you get, the more aware you become of how important it is to protect it. There was a time when you might have given your time, attention, create, and empathy freely to anyone who asked for it, believing it was the polite thing to do or the role you were expected to play. Create. But life eventually teaches you that your emotional capacity is not an endless resource. It has limits, and those limits deserve respect. Create. When you start valuing your energy the way you value your time, you begin to see how much of it has been spent on people, situations, and conversations that drained you more than they supported you. As you age, the pressure to be emotionally available for everyone often increases. Family members depend on you. Friends come to you. People expect you to be the stable one, the calm one, the one who listens without needing anything in return. Older women are frequently placed in the role of emotional caretakers by default, as if your empathy is an obligation rather than a gift. But that expectation takes a toll. You start noticing how much weight you've been carrying for others and how little space you've kept for yourself. Emotional energy isn't something you just refill overnight. It's something you rebuild by being intentional about who and what gets your attention. Limiting your emotional energy also means recognizing the difference between being supportive and being responsible for someone else's feelings. You can care without carrying. You can listen without fixing. You can love someone deeply without letting their emotional storms consume your own peace. The more life experience you gain, the easier it becomes to separate empathy from self-sacrifice. Protecting your energy isn't about pulling away from people. It's about not losing yourself in the process of being there for them. You also start to see that some people don't want support. They want a dumping ground. They want your energy, not your insight. They want to unload without listening. They want to take without giving. And every time you walk away from those conversations feeling exhausted or overwhelmed, it becomes clearer that your emotional availability needs boundaries. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Not everyone gets to use you as a place to release their stress or negativity. You're allowed to say no, step back, or redirect the conversation when you feel your energy being drained. Another layer of this boundary comes from understanding your own patterns. With age, you begin recognizing the moments when you give away too much of yourself out of habit. You notice when you over-explain to avoid conflict. When you comfort others at your own expense, or when you take on emotional responsibility that was never yours to carry. These realizations are not failures, they're insight. They teach you that protecting your emotional energy is not selfish, it's necessary. It keeps you centered, grounded, and capable of showing up fully in the relationships that truly matter. You also learn that silence can be a powerful form of boundary. Not every emotional reaction needs to be shared. Not every comment deserves a response. And not every conflict needs your participation. Choosing not to engage is not avoidance. It's strategy. It's a way of preserving your energy for things that align with your peace instead of things that pull you away from it. Emotional maturity means knowing when to speak and when to step back, when to connect and when to conserve. Ultimately, valuing your emotional energy shifts how you interact with the world. You start choosing environments that feel calm instead of chaotic. You invest in relationships that feel mutual instead of one-sided. You listen to your intuition when it tells you that something or someone is too expensive for your emotional budget. And with every choice you make to protect that energy, you reclaim a part of yourself that you may have given away too easily in the past. Not every opinion needs an audience, and the older you get, the more you understand the value of choosing when to speak and when to stay silent. It's not about hiding what you think or shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. It's about recognizing that your voice carries weight, and not everyone deserves or appreciates the substance behind what you say. When you're younger, you're often pushed to defend your thoughts, explain your choices, and justify your perspective. But over time, you learn that offering an opinion in the wrong space or to the wrong person doesn't create understanding. It only creates friction misunderstandings, create, and unnecessary stress. There's a quiet strength in knowing when your opinion is helpful and when it will only drain your energy. Create. Some people ask for your thoughts, not because they genuinely want insight, but because they want validation for what they already believe. Create. If your viewpoint doesn't match theirs, they push back, debate, or dismiss, and that's where experience steps in. Create. You realize you don't have to participate in every discussion. You don't have to convince anyone. Create. Yeah. You don't have to offer clarity to people committed to their own confusion. Holding your opinion back in those moments isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Create. You also start to recognize the environments where your opinion won't be respected. Maybe it's a conversation filled with people who interrupt, talk over you, create, or reduce everything to their own perspective. Maybe it's a family member who always hears criticism where none exists. Create. Maybe it's a friend who takes disagreement as a personal attack, and rather than wasting time trying to be understood in places that won't receive you, create. You learn to protect your peace by being selective. You offer your thoughts only where curiosity, respect, and openness exist. Create. Another part of this boundary comes from understanding that your opinion doesn't need to be shared the moment it forms. You can observe, you can absorb, create. You can wait. There is power in pausing before responding, especially when emotions are high or the topic is sensitive. Create. Age teaches you that reacting quickly and speaking first rarely leads to the best outcome. Sometimes silence provides clarity. Yet, sometimes reflection reveals a better way to communicate. And sometimes saying nothing teaches the other person more than any explanation ever could. Create. There's also freedom in releasing the urge to correct everyone. You don't have to fix misguided ideas, challenge every inaccurate statement, yet, or step into every disagreement. People will think what they want. They will believe what makes sense to them. Create, and you don't have to exhaust yourself trying to reshape their understanding. Your peace is more important than proving a point. Create. Your energy is more valuable than being right. With age, you also begin to appreciate the sacredness of privacy around your deeper beliefs. Create. Not every thought needs to be shared casually. Not every opinion needs to be spoken aloud. Some perspectives are meant to be kept close, protected from judgment, create, misinterpretation, or misuse. When you limit who hears your thoughts, you also limit who has influence over them. Create. You give yourself room to evolve without being boxed in by other people's expectations or reactions. Create. And perhaps the most powerful part of this boundary is knowing that silence can communicate just as strongly as words. When you choose not to offer your perspective, create, you're not withholding, you're prioritizing, you're deciding where your energy goes, where your presence matters. Create, and where your voice will carry impact instead of noise. You become intentional, steady, and selective. Create. You stop speaking to fill the space and start speaking only when it aligns with your peace, your clarity, and your purpose. Your relationships deserve privacy. Create. And with age, you start to understand just how important it is to protect the connections that matter to you. Not every bond in your life needs outside opinions. Create outside commentary or outside analysis. When you're younger, you might feel pressure to share every detail with friends, family, or even social circles. You vent, create, you explain, you justify, and you update people on things that should have stayed between you and the person involved. But as you grow, create, you recognize that once you invite outside voices into your relationships, you invite outside influence too. Yet, and that influence can disrupt something that was never meant to be handled by anyone but you. Privacy in relationships creates room for trust to grow. Yet, when people know that what they say to you stays with you, they open up more freely. They feel safe. They feel respected. They feel valued. Create, and that safety becomes the foundation of a stronger, deeper bond. The older you get, create. the more you appreciate the rarity of relationships that allow you to be heard without being judged, supported without being exposed, create, and understood without needing to showcase your connection to the world. Keeping those relationships private isn't secrecy, it's protection. It preserves what's real. There's also a powerful shift that happens when you stop broadcasting your relationship issues to others. Not every argument needs a panel of advisors. Not every misunderstanding needs a third-party interpretation. When too many people know the intimate details of your relationships, they start building their own opinions about the people you care about. They hold onto the negative moments long after you've healed from them. They form judgments based on snapshots instead of the full picture. Protecting the privacy of your relationships keeps outsiders from shaping how you see someone you love. It prevents unnecessary interference and keeps the connection between you and the other person clean and uncomplicated. A privacy also gives you space to grow within the relationship without feeling the pressure of outside expectations. When the world doesn't know every detail of your personal life, you're free to make decisions based on what works for you, not what makes sense to others. You can take time to sort through your feelings, to rebuild trust, to have difficult conversations, or to simply enjoy the bond without the noise of other people's opinions. You learn that the best relationships are the ones that are allowed to breathe without the weight of public scrutiny. Another aspect of this boundary is understanding that not everyone around you has pure intentions. Some people ask about your relationships out of curiosity or concern, but others ask out of comparison, competition, or gossip. Not everyone wants the best for you. And not everyone needs access to the most vulnerable parts of your personal life. Keeping your relationships private protects you from people who might use that information for the wrong reasons. It shields you from unnecessary drama, assumptions, and judgment that can weaken even the strongest connections. With age, you also become more selective about who gets to know the people you love. You stop introducing everyone to your inner circle because you realize that not every connection deserves space in your emotional world. You learn to prioritize depth over quantity, understanding that a few meaningful relationships are far more valuable than a large network of shallow ones. When you keep those meaningful relationships private, you allow them to grow on their own terms, free from the expectations or comparisons of others. Protecting relationship privacy also includes the way you speak about the people you care about. You stop oversharing their struggles, their mistakes, or their vulnerabilities because you recognize that their story is theirs to tell. You respect their privacy as much as your own. You learn to hold their secrets with care and to honor the trust they've placed in you. And in doing so, you strengthen the bond between you, creating a connection built on mutual respect, emotional protection, and quiet loyalty. Your future plans belong to you first, and the older you get, the more you realize how important it is to protect your vision from the noise, opinions, and expectations of other people. When you're younger, you might feel obligated to share every idea and every intention with those around you, hoping for approval or reassurance. But with experience, you start to understand that not everyone deserves early access to your dreams. Some people will doubt them. Some will discourage them. Some will reshape them into something that no longer feels like yours. Keeping your plans private gives you the freedom to build without interference and grow without outside pressure. Your future is a personal space that requires clarity, and clarity is hard to hold on to when too many voices start influencing your choices. The moment you share your plans, you invite input, and not all input is helpful. Some people lead with their fears, projecting limitations onto you. Others lead with comparison, measuring your goals against their expectations. Create. And some simply don't understand your vision because it wasn't given to them, it was given to you. When you keep your plans to yourself, you create a quiet environment where your intuition can speak louder than their doubts. 8. There's also a level of strength in allowing your plans to develop privately before revealing them. Not every idea is ready to be shared. Create. Some plans need time to form. Some dreams need protection while they are fragile. When you share too soon, you risk being talked out of something that could have changed your life. Older women especially know how often they've been pushed to reconsider, shrink, or adjust their goals for the comfort of others. Privacy becomes a way of keeping your direction intact. It allows you to move at your own pace, without feeling rushed, judged, or redirected. Keeping your future plans private also reduces the pressure to perform. When people know your goals, they often expect progress updates. They ask questions. They track your timeline. They measure your success based on how fast you move or how visibly you achieve. But growth is not a public performance. It's a personal process. Protecting your plans means protecting yourself from the weight of external expectations. You can try, fail, adjust, and try again without anyone watching or critiquing your pace. You also start to recognize who in your life supports your growth versus who feels threatened by it. Some people want you to evolve, but only within the limits that make them comfortable. They prefer the version of you that fits their needs, not the version that follows its own path. When you keep your future plans private, you naturally filter out the people who rely on access to your life to feel in control of theirs. Privacy becomes freedom from being influenced, questioned, or held back. 8. Another powerful reason to keep your plans to yourself is that it protects your motivation. Every time you speak your goals out loud, you release a bit of the energy behind them. Talking about what you want to do can trick your brain into feeling like you've already taken steps toward it. When you keep your plans quiet, that energy stays inside you. It becomes fuel rather than conversation. It gives you a stronger internal drive because the momentum stays where it belongs, within your own motivation, not in someone else's reaction. Yet your future is the one part of your life no one has lived but you. Other people